covers general safety guidelines for installation and commissioning projects. During this module, we will cover the following topics. General rules for safety in any installation project. The personal protective gear to be used. The concept of working at heights. Notes about selecting the right equipment for the work. Rules and considerations for working at heights. Safety procedures when working in a cell site. Let's begin. We are presenting now the description of the installation team, their roles and responsibilities. Each installation team is conformed as follows. Team leader, perform the field supervisor role, responsible for the entire field work, and it has first aid qualification. Climber, in each installation are needed at least 2 certified climbers. One of the climbers may also be the team leader to meet this qualification. Ceragon internal supervisor, responsible to monitor the field jobs and is not mandatory at installation site. Team leader or supervisor, ensure to verify the following. All team members must be at least 18 years old. All team members shall be insured by their direct employer. It is needed to remark the physical and mental competency. The team leader shall never ask a team member to climb or work if the team leader does not believe that the team member is fit for this task due to fatigue, sickness, mental stress, or is under the influence of drugs, alcoholic drinks, or prescription medication. Please see these general considerations as a starting point for your safety and for the safety of others. Please note that while these are some proven effective rules, the list is not exhaustive. It does not include all possible scenarios that can appear while working on an installation project. So, be sure that you know your job and do it safely. Do not ever conduct work unless trained for the job. Know the hazards of this job and know how to protect yourself. If you aren't sure about something or have questions, ask your team leader or supervisor first. Report all near misses, all incidents, all injuries and illnesses to your team leader or supervisor immediately. Remember, safety on site is everyone's job. Always work clear of suspended loads, live to tell the tale. Keep your mind and eyes on the task at hand. Avoid being distracted while on the job. Make sure you are aware of the emergency action plan on site. Know where to go in case anything bad happens. Always obey all warning signs and barricades. Make sure you inspect all equipment, scaffolds, ladders, lifts, etc. before using them. Anything found defective should be removed from service immediately. Report any unsafe tools, equipment, or hazardous conditions to your team leader or supervisor. Once again, safety on site is everyone's job. Always, all the time, in all circumstances you can make a difference. For your safety, be sure that all these items are taken into account. Maintain good housekeeping in your work area. Clean up after you finish the work. Put all of the used tools back to their places. Exercise proper lifting and hoisting techniques. Operate vehicles safely and always obey local driving rules. Do not work in unsafe conditions. You should stop work if you feel unsafe and take appropriate actions for making the site safer. Remember that only authorized personnel shall install or replace Ceragon equipment. Don't use ladders as scaffolds and never climb so high on the ladder that it becomes impossible to hold the top step for support. Be observant and aware of other safety rules and regulations that might not be mentioned here. If you see someone doing something unsafe or risky, say something to that person and to your team leader or supervisor. Only lift appropriate weights. You only have one back during this lifetime. As with a lot of other jobs, keeping a positive attitude will make things go smoother and safer. Try to come up with solutions to the challenges in front of you after observing them. Personal protective equipment should always be used on an installation site. Please observe the examples shown here. Make sure you wear the required personal protective equipment necessary for the job. That is, proper boots, proper harness, the specific safety helmet. Wear helmet at all times. Wear harness at all times when working at heights. Use the proper shoes. Please take this example as a guide, but don't wear rubber boots which can slip and make you fall. Also, observe the local regulations as some countries might need steel cap boots. Make sure you do proper weights carrying. Some elements can be carried with you while climbing ladders, some need special hoisting. Always connect harness to lifeline. The lifeline is there to save your life, so use it. Working at heights is a concept defining any work above or below ground level where there is risk of personal injury. Injury can happen through person falling or from objects falling on people below. You are working at height if you are working on a ladder or a flat roof. Could fall through a fragile surface. Could fall into an opening or a hole in the ground. People who need to work at heights should firstly take into account the weather conditions. If the weather is bad, no work at heights is recommended. Always make sure to check that the worksite is safe. Look for anything you know can be a risk every time you start working in such a way. Take active steps to stop materials or equipment from falling or sliding. Make sure they are all connected, tied, not slipping. One should also make sure objects cannot easily be dropped, pushed, or can fall on someone. Your equipment is very important for the job. Store such equipment and accessories safely so they won't cause injury if they are disturbed or moved. Before doing the job, plan for emergencies and rescue. Alternatively, if there is a plan in place, make sure you know the established plan for emergency situations. Prevent the entrance of personnel beneath working areas when working on roofs or surfaces above ground level. The right equipment and the right tools are essential for any job. When working in a risky environment, like on towers, it is especially important to take into account factors such as the working conditions, like the weather, the frequency and duration of the work, and what safety risks are present on site. Consult Work at Height Access Equipment Information Toolkit, known as WAIT. Inspect tools used to ensure working conditions. A fall protection should be used when a worker is within 3 meters on any structure, roof, unprotected edge, or open hole. It can be either the horizontal lifeline or some fall arrest system. Fall protection must always be used when there are no handrails, guards, or other fall protection devices. Before working at heights, you must follow these simple steps. Where work at heights cannot be avoided or is needed, prevent falls using the right type of equipment, as discussed previously. Try to minimize the distance and consequences of a fall by using protection equipment where the risk cannot be eliminated. You should do as much as possible from the ground, prepare the cables, the connectors, do the cutting, crimping, and the fitting on the ground as well, if possible. Ensure that you can get safely to and from the installation place, plan ahead for you and your team or colleagues. Ensure that the equipment is suitable, stable, and strong enough for the job. Be aware that safety equipment is to be maintained and checked regularly. Do not overload or overreach when at height. Think of solutions that can help you do the job without adding extra risk to it. Provide protection from falling objects. Remember that even with all the warning signs and briefings, some people can still accidentally be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The installation team must be aware of the following definitions when working in a cell site, tower, or any other elevated location used. A cell site is a location where a telecom tower is erected or being erected, where optical fiber cables are laid or being laid, where antennas and other electronic equipment are installed or being installed on towers. The aim is to create or connect a cell in a cellular network. For a cell site, working at heights, that means there is a probability for serious injury or damage associated with falling persons or objects, includes work on towers, monopoles, rooftops, scaffolds, ladders, etc. That means that someone can be within 2 meters of an unprotected edge. That means that a person can sustain a fall from a height of 2 meters or more. Clothing considerations. Do not wear loose clothes when working on a cell site. Some excess material could be tangled, stuck, pressed, or caught and lead to harm. Use the proper safety shoes. Gumboots should be used for site's access, when the road is through bushy or through forest areas. On site, proper utility boots should be worn at all times. Ensure that safety equipment, PPE, is available at site and that it is worn during working hours. When working at heights, make sure that only trained personnel and with valid climbing certificate works at heights. Ensure that everyone is aware to maintain at least 3 points of contact while climbing or working on a ladder. This reduces drastically the risk of falling. Your full body safety harness and helmet are your best allies while working on towers or at heights. The hook safety harness and lanyards should be properly secured at a safe place before starting the work. Take extra precautions when climbing after rain or fog. Climb the tower with proper, leather utility shoes. Do not use sandals or gumboots during climbs. A first aid kit should be made available on any site. For working with loads, hoisting and lifting, ensure that there are no loose nuts, screws, bolts, or tools left on the tower platform after finishing the work. Check to make sure that platform railing is secured before holding or standing next to the railing. When lifting a load, make sure that the angle between the hoisting straps is less than 90 degrees at the point where they are attached to the lifting system. We show in the right side image what we mean by that angle. Please never walk or stand under the hoisted load. Any loose bracing of the tower's structure must be fixed immediately. Make sure the ladder is long enough for the work needed. People should not overreach or stretch to reach something if it involves having less than 3 points of contact, even for a few moments. Instead, the climbing structure should be high enough to avoid overreaching. Check to ensure correct earthing and grounding of all components like network elements, radio units, waveguides, Ethernet, and IF cables. Visually check the tower for any insects or birds' nests, and take appropriate precautions before ascending to the tower. After a safety harness and lanyard is strapped in place, test it by carefully throwing the weight of your body against the safety belt, to ensure that it is properly fastened. Do not climb the tower if the weather does not permit it, during rain, snow, sleet, gusty winds, lightning, or others. No working at heights during these improper weather conditions. Considerations that apply for all microwave installations. Do not carry any tools in your hands. Use backpack or tool bags to carry tools and other items. Do not leave equipment on parapets or where they can roll off and fall. Always obtain any permits that may be required before starting work at height. Examples: temporary shutdowns of antenna, traffic control, lane closures, power outage, maybe others. Ensure that safe distances are maintained away from antennas. Any medical condition or implants worn, or any team member under the influence of drugs, alcoholic drinks, or prescription medication, should be reported to the appropriate manager before engaging in any work at height. The EMF sign should be clearly visible and identifiable. The sign may contain any of the following texts: danger, RF radiation, do not touch tower, access to authorized personnel only, warning, non-ionizing radiation. Beyond this point, RF fields exist that exceed the rules for human exposure. Authorized personnel only. Caution, non-ionizing radiation. During this module were covered the following topics: general rules for safety, personal protective gear, working at heights guidelines, selecting the right equipment, rules and considerations for working at heights, safety procedures when working at cell site. Thank you for your attention.